Fuck off. Go laugh in the corner. Okay, so we're talking about genres. Shut up!
I didn't do anything!
Yes, you did!
No, that was me.
What did you do?
It's like,
I thought it was him.
No, I started laughing too because I saw Justin staring at
Leave!
the wall.
Leave!
Oh, God.
Live from the eyeball of Squid Kid in the new Smash reveal trailer, this is Klungtube Weekly. I'm here with Michael.
what?
And Ben.
Hi.
And I'm James. And today we're going to be talking about our favorite genres of video games. So let's get to it.
What?
Also, this is a preface. It can be any game, not just video games. Any type of games. Yay.
Okay.
Alright, we're talking about genres of games. Our favorite genres. This was suggested to us by Grave. Thank you very much. So if anyone else has any suggestions for other things we should talk about, leave it in the comments. We listen. So I'm going to start off. My favorite genre of video game is character action games. And that's it's a roughly defined genre, so I can really talk about a lot of things. But I like to think of it as games such as like Nier Automata, or to an extent Dark Souls. That's pushing it a little bit. But basically a lot of games made by Platinum Games, those game developers. It's basically defined as a third-person kind of view, where it's almost like a fighting game or hack and slash kind of game, except you're fighting waves of enemies and it requires precise timing and combos to be done by you, almost like a fighting game, except in a PvE environment. And I really like those types of games because it feels like a fighting game, but without having to go online and doing all that, and it really makes you feel good. I like gameplay that makes you feel as if you're playing a cutscene. I'm really a sucker for that, and those types of games are big proponents of that. So next up is Michael.
Yeah. So one of my favorite genres of games are platformers. So games like the Super Mario games, or something like New Super Mario Brothers, which is the same series, but whatever. I really like platformers because it tests your ability to act quickly by jumping from platform to platform. It's also just generally platformers are very colorful and very just nice to look at. Something else that's a platformer, something like Super Meat Boy, for example, can be a really challenging platformer because you have to make all these ridiculous jumps. And I like getting to the end of a Super Meat Boy level and just feeling that rush of adrenaline from overcoming that obstacle.
All right, and then next we have Ben.
Yeah, so for me, I'm stuck between two major genres. One of those being sandbox games. So essentially being basic Minecraft, Subnautica, which I got recently introduced to by James. Basically, those games allowing you to have that exploration aspect, that is definitely a common thing that I'm looking for when I'm looking for a game in general, which kind of coincides with the other genre I'm going to mention later. But essentially being able to explore a variety of areas, so from a desert environment to a plains environment to an ocean, essentially wherever you're going, and just being able to collect different things to help propel you to some sort of goal. That's the aspect that I really like about Sandbox. And essentially it's also kind of create your own adventure. You don't have any strict oriented linear plot that you're going towards. You can kind of create your own game in essential based on that. Kind of to go off of that as well, I'm also a big fan of top-down games. So, of course, the classic Legend of Zelda games, and expanding beyond that into the newer series, as well as Binding of Isaac. So still having that exploration aspect that you get from the sandbox games, but in this sense you are oriented towards a certain plot, but you can explore it in your own way. I know essentially for the original Legend of Zelda, you don't have to explore it dungeon by dungeon, so you have to go to dungeon 1, dungeon 2, etc., etc., etc. You can explore it based on your own path and how you want to explore the game, but you still have that ability to go where you want to, similar to the way you would do with the sandbox games.
Yeah, awesome. So next up we have our debate. What are we debating? Stick around. All right, we're back. Thank you. And we're going to be discussing first-person versus third-person points of view in video games. So first up for the debate is Michael for first person, and you have a minute.
Okay, so what I like about first-person video games is that it really makes you immersed in the whole experience. Something like Call of Duty, for example, you get that immersion of that deep, dark, like war setting, especially like in the campaign where they can control how you see things as a player. Whereas like third person, you have like an other world kind of perspective. It's like you looking at a character, whereas a first person experience, it's more of like you are that character. Something like in Minecraft, for example, as you look around the world, you can actually get that sense of like you're really there. It really makes it kind of unique in its own way. Because like in third person, you have that like outside presence, and you have that like kind of other world sense. But I think the ability to like just look at the world around you through the eyes of that person really makes it a better experience.
All right, great. And next we have Ben for a minute.
Yeah, so the thing that I like about third-person games is mainly that you do have that otherworldly sense about you. That, at least for me, when I'm playing a video game, my main desire out of the game is to be able to have an escape from reality. So to put me in a position where I've already experienced, not that I experience war day in and day out, but if I were to experience that day in and day out, ordinarily I wouldn't want to have that same aspect with me. I would want to be able to escape from that and to have that omniscient point of view. Plus, from the third person, you can judge where things are coming at you better. So, for example, if let's say that COD was a top-down in a third-person point of view, you would be able to see where everything's coming at you and have better control, which I think is what you want from the video game, as opposed to not knowing the environment around you.
Okay, great. And then next, Michael, you have your 30-second rebuttal.
Cool. So Ben mentioned something about if Call of Duty were maybe a third-person perspective, it would be a little bit easier to control. To use an example, Modern Warfare 2, when it was recently released, had a third-person perspective. And I think it made the game a little bit more floaty to control. You didn't exactly have the right amount of movement that you did in the first-person perspective. And I just think the otherworldly experience is just, it's kind of weird.
Cool. And then Ben, 30 seconds.
And again, Michael had mentioned that the thing that he likes about first person is that it really is an immersive experience. But again, as I had said, with the third person, you get experiences beyond your normal perspective. So from a first person, you can only experience so many things that are going around you within a certain scope of vision. However, in the third person, you can see what's going on around you in the whole room, which I think is really beneficial to the experience.
Awesome. So let us know in the comments who you think won or your opinion on the matter. And if you have any more ideas for us for our next debate topic, please let us know. Thanks for watching so much. Bye-bye!